Smash 64 is most certainly dated in terms of what's present, and in my opinion out of the Smash games it is the third best in terms of competitive play. The tier list is extremely unfair. A lot of it is broken, there's not much variety. It's easy to get tired of the same 12 characters again and again, hence why it's not as celebrated as it used to be. This was a unique idea, and what we now know as Smash Ultimate was this blank canvas. Smash was a success, and of course, a couple years later, it was time to try again. Hopefully this time with more characters, more stages, and above all, more single-player content. Thus, the best game in the competitive age of Smash was born, Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube. I don't really need to go into what made Melee so different. The graphics were better, you could charge smash attacks, you had 4 specials instead of 3. It was so much faster. Everyone knows the huge leap that was Melee in perfecting 64, and that's not really what the focus of this video is going to be. In order to investigate what makes Melee such a good competitive game, we have to first investigate what competitive even means. According to Google, competitive simply means relating to or characterized by competition. Wait, that... God fucking damn. According to Google, competition is the activity or condition of striving to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others. It also has an extra side note definition. An event or contest in which people take part in order to establish superiority or supremacy in a particular area. This is painfully obvious. But given the various people saying that Melee is not a fighting game, I feel that it should be stated that its competitive status is definitely legitimate. Think of it this way. When you think of competition, what comes to mind? You think something like football, boxing, or baseball. Sports that take skill and have 2 people or teams of people facing off with one goal in mind: winning. Obviously, when it comes to these tournaments like EVO, Shine, Super Smash Con, Genesis 6, and so on, the goal is to answer the question, who is the best player? Why else do you think there's a winner? For the hell of it? No. These people practice and practice until they get good at playing it and face off against each other. These people come to this event due to their mutual love for this single game that each and every one of them has studied, practiced, and put a lot of time into. The goal, however, is of course to compare their skills and answer the ultimate question, who is the best player? Games that have a winner and a loser would fall under this methodology, right? Well, wrong. Competitive players know that it is not this simple because... consider this. Gambling, casinos, party drinking games. These are much more dedicated to fun than any form of skill. A lot of the time, it's the unpredictability that makes it thrilling. It's based on luck, not skill, and it's fun. Gambling has a winner and a loser, but it's entirely based on luck, most of the time in favor of the house. This is what separates party games from fighting games. Party games have randomized action, things that you get on a whim. It's fun and certainly does have a thrill to it, but it's not a comparison of skill. This is why I consider a game like Mario Kart Party, but a game like F-Zero competitive. Because for one, it depends entirely on what you get from various item boxes, and for the other, it depends more on your skill as a player, and specific things you need to keep in mind or look out for when executing your race, such as conserving your boost energy, or looking out for blockades, or trying not to get bumped off the track. Competitive games, by that metric, would have to be games that have a set structure of comparing 2 people's skills by having them face off against each other without any neutral obstructions that can turn the tide of the game. It has to lean more towards a comparison of skill than it does towards gambling. Most games teach players how to play them, and then they give them a series of tests utilizing what it is they've learned. The beauty of competitive games, however, is that they essentially do the same thing, but instead of giving you trials and tribulations manufactured from the game itself, your skills can be compared to other people who enjoy playing the same game. When in a fight, you may not know this person well. You may not know what kind of person they are or who they are. The only thing you know is that you both have a mutual passion for this game that even put you in these chairs facing off against each other to begin with. But there's something really beautiful about it in your communication with them. Your comparison of skills through a game you've both studied. People who state that Melee isn't a fighting game know the thrill of a fighting game. They know the fun that goes into playing competitive games. The comparison of skills that dictates who is the best. That's something that party games cannot replicate. Not to say that party games don't have their own value, just to say that this is why people are so passionate about differentiating the two. But to dismiss the Smash Bros. Games as party is ridiculous. Just because it goes against the typical style of conventional fighters doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't a competitive game by its own merits. Therefore, people into real fighting games tend to dismiss it of any of the appeal that they see in their games. This takes me to the most important factor to consider when looking at Smash. The thing is, Smash's gimmick is that it's a combination of various other video games all coming together into this one game. It's the world's biggest crossover, essentially, with references to other games all around. Maps from games, characters from games with moves from games, items from games, music from games. It's clear that Melee is just a combination of various other things all put together into one, which is kind of what makes it really its own thing. Well, in defense of the people who call it a party game, there are a lot of reasons for why. First off, the game has these items that fall from the sky at random intervals. They can fall at any time. They can fall anywhere. And it could be one of any of the various weapons presented in the game. Oh no, I'm losing, but luckily a Maxim Tomato from Kirby, or a heart container from Zelda, landed on the stage and I can go grab it and heal. I sure am having trouble hitting this person. Guess I'll need to hit them with a hammer I just found. Fans, home run bats, beam swords, star rods, bob-ombs. These are all cute little references to the games they're from, but they obstruct the gameplay. Whether it be upgrades, means of healing, or broken items that can take away stocks in a matter of seconds, they're randomized and exist as a sort of gamble. You don't know what items are going to appear, when they're going to appear, or where they're going to appear. They aren't perfectly balanced by any means. They are also way too strong for the most part and completely overshadow the actual character choices. Also, having certain items spawn near you can equate to a free stock on occasion. The biggest issue with items as a comparison of skill is they make it less about learning the characters and mechanics, and more so about relying on items, which can be unfair for a wide array of characters. Some of the heavier ones, for example, become more unviable because they have a hard time getting to the items. Items and big stages promote things like camping, which takes no skill and is frankly unfair. It's not like it isn't there for a reason. It's been tested at the earlier stages of Smash's competitive scene, and the rules are put in place because of things that have likely happened during tournaments. To put it simply, they aren't fair in terms of competition. In terms of fucking around, gambling, and just having fun, sure, they're an absolute blast, but in terms of competition and skill, not really. In addition, there are a lot of maps in this game. Some of them are pretty tame and have few obstructions to the battle, but there's also a lot that are filled with them. I mean, there's the scrolling stage Big Blue, filled with random terrain, lots of areas that you can camp and stall, and a track that the cars move on, which carries characters in contact with it extremely quickly towards walk-off blast lines. It's random, and any of these aspects can quickly change a game's outcome in a matter of seconds. Brinstar's Acid makes it hard to land kills and often saves players. Brinstar Depths has no ledges to grab with its irregular design and random rotation, making it even harder to fight. Corneria has these jets that shoot at you randomly and are extremely powerful. Flat Zone has these huge areas that are easy to fall in, a lot of damaging materials, appearing and disappearing platforms, and oil slicks. Fourside is extremely unstable, and the random UFOs make it unfair. Great Bay has this solid middle platform above two lower edge platforms that allows for easy, low-risk, no-edge guarding required stage spikes that result in frequent low percent KOs and gimps that would not occur in usual circumstances. That's just a few stages out of a total of 29, and a very large number of them have things that can obstruct the fights. I mean, just look at this. I don't even know what the fuck this shit is, like, the end of Evangelion with Pokemon? What? If these aspects of the game were mandatory, then it certainly wouldn't be held as high as it is. This takes me to Smash's most notable aspect, legality. Masahiro Sakurai is a genius, and one of the best developers purely for his style. He likes to make his games easy to understand, yet difficult to master, and he loves giving the player freedom to play the game in any way that they wish. Items are not mandatory, and you're given the ability to turn them off. In addition, in maps like Fountain of Dreams or Final Destination, there are no obstructions that turn the tide of the battle. You're allowed to play the game with any preference. So, in order to retain that competitive status, tourneys have their own preference. No items and only these stages. Sure, you can argue that this strips the game of content, but I think Sakurai wanted to make a game for everyone. The fact that you can play it this way shows that this is still a valid way to enjoy the game. Honestly, in my opinion, Melee is the best competitive game in the entire series. Like, judging all of them as competitive games, Melee is probably the most fair. That isn't to say that it's the most balanced, and it certainly isn't perfect. Chain grabbing is busted, and the better characters are fucking just... This is... Personally, however, the skill cap and interactivity definitely makes Melee one of the better ones in the series. Skill cap is pretty self-explanatory because there's an abundance of advanced and difficult tech in the game. Interactivity comes from the variety of movement options and the existence of DI. DI is much more influential in Melee than it is in the other games, and it adds an element of interaction to the combos. There are issues I have with it, but it was all listed in these sort of satirical videos called Melee is Broken. You could probably watch, but that's really a discussion all on its own.
Melee's tier list is interesting to say the least. I would definitely not call Melee the most balanced game in the series, but at the same time it's nowhere near as over-centralized around one character like in Brawl with Meta Knight. The section of Melee's tier list people would consider viable or potentially viable is about 11 out of 26, and that's possibly a little generous. So yeah, there's quite a lot of dead weight hanging off the bottom here. Generally speaking, characters with a lack of options and highly punishable traits tend to sink lower. Looking at a character like Bowser, there are many problems here. Primarily his size, poor recovery, and lack of speed, all of which makes him perfect combo food, easy to overwhelm and beat a neutral, and very exploitable offstage. Offensively, his moves come out very slowly and don't really set up combos. What Bowser has going for him are powerful moves, edge guards, and a decent up B out of shield to get a character off of him. But up B will not kill, nor will it set him up for guaranteed combo strings. So for Bowser to win an interaction almost requires a hard read, a prediction on what the other player will do based on learned patterns or a raw guess. He just doesn't have many safe options, and as soon as an opponent knows how to bait out an up B and knows how to space around Bowser's hitboxes, there's nothing Bowser can really do in the neutral game. And even if he were to win a neutral interaction, he doesn't have guaranteed combos, so his opponents can just reset to the neutral state where they have better tools to get in, escape, pressure Bowser's shield, and so on. While Bowser is particularly bad and is definitely a bottom 3 character, much of these same struggles are very common amongst other bottom tiers. Kirby, who got probably the hardest nerf I think any character in a Smash game has ever received, is also very slow and can't chain combos together, making him just about as weak in his neutral and punish game. His recovery is also very bad due to his lack of air mobility, making his multiple jumps feel almost pointless. Zelda may have the best down B in the game, but is also slow and relies on single strong hits to kill opponents. She has a better neutral game because she can space long-reaching aerials, but because of her lack of speed, her moves are just as predictable. There's also the case of subpar clone characters, with Pichu and Roy being the worst. Roy's hitboxes inverse Marth's, making his strong hitboxes on the hilt of his sword. But his spacing game is really bad because the tip of his sword doesn't send opponents anywhere and is easy to crouch cancel. That coupled with a really bad recovery just makes Roy a worse version of Marth. Pichu's not much better considering he carries a worse package of Pikachu's same weaknesses, low damaging moves, stubby hitboxes, and being very lightweight making him die extremely early. Characters like Ness and Game & Watch feel almost unfinished, with Game & Watch having a notoriously bad shield that can be constantly poked, and being unable to out-cancel certain moves. Ness's recovery needs to be incredibly precise and can't ride walls in the same way Fox and Falco's up Bs can, giving him fewer mix-ups offstage in addition to his weak onstage game with his stubby hands and slow speed. As we scan through more of the bottom half of this tier list, we start seeing more of the same problems arise. Bad exploitable recoveries, weak combo games, lack of tools in neutral, lack of speed, large hurt boxes, small hitboxes, slow moves, and so on. It's about B tier where we start getting tournament viable. And hey, Pikachu literally just won a major for the first time ever this year, but that's because Axe is a maniac. What you'll see budding here is a larger range of options. Pikachu has really powerful tools such as speed and a really good offstage game, one of the best recoveries in the game, and the strongest up smash as well. What keeps the rat from climbing the rankings are particular struggles that other high tiers are better equipped to deal with, such as crouch canceling and aerial camping, both of which Pikachu struggles to work around. Much of the same can be said for Yoshi and Samus. Both have particular strengths that have many more options than the lower tier characters have, but also run into issues the higher tier characters don't struggle so much against. Samus's grab is very punishable, making her shield very easy to pressure, as someone with a good reaction time can just avoid getting grabbed outright. This forces Samus to play a more ranged game, but the speed and range of other top tiers makes maintaining that space much more difficult. Yoshi can't jump out of his shield, and while his unique double jump offers him super armor, Falcon Knee just outright breaks that armor, and Fox's down air drill does the same, making these moves relatively safe to use against Yoshi. This doesn't make him useless, but these are very exploitable weaknesses that make winning with Yoshi much more difficult.
Just a quick editor's note, but it seems that Fox's drill, it breaks Yoshi's ability to parry out of shield, which is another technique Yoshi uses, but I don't believe it breaks his double jump armor. I'm not so sure on that. So just wanted to make it clear.
Now, Ice Climbers! Ices are what I would call the worst and best character depending on the scenario. What Ices have are insane grab combos and a notorious infinite known as wobbling, a term coined by the Smasher Wobbles, who ironically became to dislike the technique. Wobbling is a grab infinite that guarantees a kill if executed correctly. While there are other true combos in the game, none are as simple, consistent, or free as wobbling is. It's in a league of its own, really. Despite this insane tool in the Icy's arsenal, they are one of the most inconsistent characters in the top tier. Nana, the CPU the player doesn't directly control, is incredibly easy to abuse once split from Popo, the directly controlled character. Once Popo is solo, a Sopo if you will, he is no better than a low tier character, and much of the threat Icy's pose is just gone. But after this point in the tier list, we begin to see the characters Melee is most well known for. Falcon, Peach, Sheik, Falco, Jigglypuff, Marth, and of course, Fox. Keep in mind that this tier list is a Reddit community tier list and that some positions may vary. This is just the more accurate for 2019 Melee meta. With that said, there's not much I really disagree with here. I might swap Sheik and Falcon, I maybe move Puff down to S tier. That aside, the characters in these positions are generally consistent, have great combo neutral games, and all take victories over one another. Remember, one's placement on the tier list does not directly equate to securing a victory. Even characters with a perceived advantage over another will lose, as everyone in this place in the tier list has a wide range of options and strongly unique qualities. Characters towards the top are just slightly better in this department. Fox is undeniably the best though. While I joked about Zelda having the best down B in the game, it's really all about that shine, baby. Fox's down B is the safest, most versatile, and probably most broken move in the game. It comes out on frame 1, it can be cancelled with a jump, and that jump input can be cancelled with either a wave dash, grab, up smash, or another shine. If shine hits the shield, Fox can cancel shine with a jump cancelled grab, meaning he can lock you in shield and grab you before you can act. He can also just shine again and again to whittle down one's shield. This is called multi-shining. He can wave dash out of shine and wait for the opponent to do something Fox can react to, like a roll or grab attempt. He can attempt an up smash if the opponent tries to jump or grab out of shine pressure, or in hopes that up smash will just shield poke. All of these options can be mixed together, creating the scariest shield pressure in the game, and this is without shine ever connecting on someone out of their shield. Shine can also be used as a gimp tool, making the Fox-Falco matchup incredibly brutal at points. Fox's shine also has no knockback growth, meaning the opponent will be sent the same distance regardless of percentage, making Fox's combo strings and kill setups more consistent than anyone's, though this varies depending on how opponents DI, and I don't want to leave out the technical ability and room for error that exists while playing Fox. He's likely the hardest character in the game to master, at least on the technical end. But when I stress that options are important, this is the kind of thing I'm referring to. I can find more to say about Fox's shine than I can for the entirety of Bowser's kit, which is why they're polar opposites on the tier list. There's also plenty of interesting things to say about the other top tiers. Falco's incredible laser pressure and combo game, Jigglypuff's aerial control and early percentage kills with gimps or rest setups, Marth's incredible range, chain grabs and edge guards, Falcon's absolutely disgusting combo game, Sheik's amazing defensive options and tech chasing, and Peach's crazy combo game aided by her unique ability to float cancel. But I think I've illustrated by this point what makes a good character, and what the position on a tier list communicates about these characters. Before I end this segment though, I don't wish to discourage anyone from playing a low tier or a mid tier. Much of what I discussed is mainly applicable to larger tournaments with professional players. Local tournaments on the other hand are a different story. Also, upsets do happen, and there are plenty of low tier heroes leaving their marks upon Melee's history.
Okay. GR with the bananas.
And the bananas, the ceremonial Pittsburgh bananas.
You can play whoever you like, and tier lists are always subject to change as players continue to discover more about this almost 2-decade-old game. Look at MYRSA and Axe, 2 top 10 players who single-handedly carried their characters up the tier list. Granted, these 2 players are gods amongst men, and Axe is a contender for the most technical player to ever exist, but they found ways for their characters to work around their weaknesses, and brought so much information to any and all following in their footsteps. I guess this is what makes Melee very interesting to me. While there's a massive gap between characters, the Melee metagame is constantly evolving, and is much more varied in character selection than one might assume based on memes like, Fox only Final Destination of items. Fox may be the best character in the game, but it's also so satisfying to see him just get just fucking brutalized. Also, there are only a couple dedicated Fox mains in the Melee's top 10 right now. The best player currently mains Jigglypuff. That particularly is fascinating considering there aren't many relevant Puff mains among the top 100 players. So while the tier list is rather polarizing, there's still a wide variety of matchups we're seeing right now, and the game is only continuing to become more varied in its later years.
For a second there, it looked like H-Box was throwing to his boy. Yo! Oh, got the actual tech chase. DIN.
Oh my goodness. He's up to it. He's about to 30.
It's easy to see how unique Smash is as a competitive game, and arguably I would say pulling off good combos takes a lot more work. There's not a lot of fighting games with a platformer format, if any, other than Smash Bros. Combos can change based on percent and knockback, something that makes it stand out from other competitive games. It's easy to learn, yet difficult to become good at. You get the concept, but trying to retain your combos and keep a steady pace takes a lot of practice. Utilizing the mechanics within the game takes a serious attention to detail. There's no series of buttons you have to push to pull off something cool. Now it's entirely up to the creativity of the player to use any mechanics the game gives them and create their own combination. With the exception of Terry, that motherfucker is a beast. Something like footstooling being utilized in a combo, for example, takes practice, since you have to jump precisely off of their head. Melee, in retrospect, is the platforming fighter simply for the fact that it has the most options to use for the combo extensions and being able to move on and off them out of any of the Smash games present. What makes each character one of a kind is the particular ways that those moves manifest. One character's up smash may swipe upward 3 times, while another may do a solitary upward kick. The greatest contrast comes in special moves, where on one character, hitting right and special will dispatch them in a sideways motion, while another may fire a projectile. Working around this structure has taken into consideration a wide yet natural inclination and set of characters. When you're used to the game's mechanics, it's really simple to hop between various characters and discover which one fits the best. Some of the greatest moments in Smash history aren't just coincidental, and they don't just happen out of sheer luck. Even if luck plays into a small part of it, these people practiced and learned the game inside and out to get to where they are now. One moment I'm sure you've heard of was Wombo Combo! I know you've heard the audio clip from this, given it was such a huge meme back when everyone was making MLG videos over everything. Despite the meme being dead, this is genuinely still my favorite moment in Melee competitive history for various reasons. Essentially, you have these 2 teams facing off against each other and it's mostly equal. In total, one team has 4 stocks and the other has 3, and everyone is at a high percent. The Falcon jumps on top of this platform and lowers and beckons the Fox to follow him. Since he knows he's going to jump down, he immediately performs an up smash, taking the Fox's final stock. As that happens, the other Fox dash dances before promptly grabbing the other, waiting for the Falcon to land his up smash. He holds him knowing the amount of time it'll take him to break free, and it'll be just enough time for the Falcon to quickly take care of him too. Because of this move, the other team is entirely at a disadvantage. It was a calculated strategy that turned what was a fairly even game into a checkmate. The final step is to trap the Fox between them and build up the final stock's percent by having the 2 juggle him with a chain of grabs and pummels before finishing him off with a knee. Notice how they don't let the Fox out until he reaches at least 60% for a guaranteed death. In Melee, I personally main Falcon, and he doesn't have his shortage of hype moments. There is the aforementioned Wombo Combo segment, but another great moment, which is admittedly pretty underrated, was the UMD Falcon Punch from Beer on Hugh. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I really can't blame you. These two opponents are skeptical to approach each other, hence the dash dancing, but eventually one of them needs to make the first move, so Falcon does with his knee. He performs an aerial close to the ground, causing him to quickly land before the Fox gets out of hit stun. He utilizes this window of opportunity to jump on the other side and hit him with a down air. The Fox could roll left or right, but Falcon knows he's going to roll this way because of the pressure he built on the left side. Because of this, he performs a side special and connects it to a grab and down throw. The Fox easily regrets rolling this way and decides to roll the other way, but this was part of the Falcon's trap. He jumps back and hits him with a forward air, knocking him far, makes a leap of faith, and finishes it with a Falcon Punch. What's so amazing about this is just that he has really no idea if this Falcon Punch is going to land. It's all in the finisher. It's a stylish move that would make his victory absolutely exciting, and it's a risk he can take because of how many more stocks he has than the Fox.
Oh my god!
Gosh, I did it.
Yeah, I know you did it. Yeah, we all know you fucking did it. Okay, but we can get you off. We can get you off.
I'm a murderer.
We all know you're guilty. Look,
Guilty?
look, Goofy, I'm Mickey's best lawyer, okay? He wanted me on this case because he cares about you.
I'll fucking do it again.
Sauce is a fucking genius, and his Link plays are absolutely stellar. Like, this is the dude who gets knocked off stage, up specials into a floating bomb, and makes his way back twice in one go. Look at this fucking shit.
Trade, very bad for Sauce.
Oh, good
Back.
spot jump. Oh, and
Back.
attack.
But good placement by Sauce there. He's gonna get sniped, yeah.
Oh,
He's still gonna make it back.
No way!
Oh my god! Wow! Sauce says, I am the Triforce of Courage for a reason.
Like, bro, this man's is up here, and we're all down here. This motherfucker's got equations going on through his head while he's playing. It's great. One of his various great plays, of course, will be here. He's having this ruthless fight against this Falco, and despite being a character that's considered bad against one of the best characters in the game, he's absolutely handing his ass to him. He's knocked off the stage, uses air dodge to stay in the air for a second before using his hookshot to recover, and quickly grabs and pummels the Falco before he can run off, and quickly uses a dash and spin attack to knock him to the left. Falco's recovery has a small segment in which he's vulnerable before he can actually get moving, and Link uses this to hit him with a boomerang. The Falco falls, but quickly gets back into his recovery animation, and this was a mistake because the Link does it again. He apparently doesn't learn his lesson, and tries the third time, and Link once again angles the boomerang to gimp him. Even more clever would be later in this fight, when he knocks the Falco to the left again and gimps him with the boomerang. He throws it downward, but it doesn't quite hit. However, he's well aware it wasn't going to. This is left here to keep the Falco more downward so that when he goes for a lower angle in recovery, he shoots himself right into Link's down tilt. This juggles him up into his up special and secures another stock. It's all over this fight, like throwing a boomerang to beckon the Falcon to move downward, only to land into a bomb, using a boomerang to gimp his recovery and sniping him with an arrow at just the right time to ensure he doesn't make it back, and so forth. I would say go and watch this fight in its entirety because it's ruthless. It's hard to watch, and it's ruthless. If you wanted to go even lower on the tier list, you have some pretty cool shit from Roy. Neo has some pretty nice plays, like his game with Husband's Marth. This game spawns the players on two different elevations, and this is funnily ironic, because this is kind of the case. Marth is very high tier, whereas Roy Dangle is more low. Immediately things start bad when the Marth starts a chain grab, but his third grab misses, and suddenly things aren't looking in his favor. The Roy retaliates with a down tilt leading to an up air. Even as the Marth retreats to the platform, Roy's hitboxes, small as they might be, still extend enough to hit him. He has to come to the bottom again and fish for a grab. It doesn't prove to be easy, and upon throwing Roy, he still misses with his forward air. Roy knocks him to the left, anticipating his recovery with an F smash, but it doesn't work out. Luckily, his quickest option is his grab, which he uses to throw Marth back off and try again. Unfortunately, Marth goes for a high recovery, making it back to the stage, and even though Roy tries to supplement this by chasing him down, does nothing to get him back to where he was. So he needs to play a trick. He slowly walks the other way, looking vulnerable and leaving his backside, thus beckoning Marth to chase after him, only to turn around with a smash attack and take the Marth's first stock. Hell, if you want to go to the fucking absolute bottom of the tier list, Kirby is easily the worst character in the game, at least in my opinion. Triple R, however, is the bravest man alive, and I think even the best Kirby player in Melee. Here, he's fighting a Luigi. More specifically, the Luigi is trying to edgeguard him. He quickly knocks the Luigi aside with a forward air. Notice how he doesn't continue this combo until just the moment that Luigi gets up. It's a frame-perfect hit that knocks Luigi aside the exact moment he's vulnerable. Luigi tries to recover, but Kirby takes it a step further and knocks him directly down, turning things around in just 3 hits. Even funnier is that he uses his suck move to take the Luigi off the stage, utilizing Luigi's bad recovery to spike him with a down air and secure 2 stocks in under a minute. He's very good at frame-perfect inputs, which is necessary for a good Kirby. The part where he chain grabbed a Fox player, is another example of him implementing good frame-perfect inputs and showing just how good at this game he really is.
Silo Bobby down to his last stop. Is he going to get it before a minute passes? Well, let's see. He's right near the edge. Oh my god! Destruction!
So this clip is one of the most well-known in Melee's competitive history, and what makes this sequence special for me is that I was in that crowd watching it unfold. I cannot properly communicate how amazing of an experience it was, as not only was it hype, but it was part of my introduction to competitive Melee. I originally bought into the memes about the game and how it was apparently a glorified Fox tech spam contest, but to my surprise and delight, Axe flipped this notion on its head. I could get into the specifics of all these interactions, but luckily for you, Axe had already done a thorough job breaking down this very game. I cannot do this analysis the same justice, so I want to focus primarily on the choice of stage and why Fountain of Dreams is such a good counterpick for Pikachu against Fox. Normally, a Pika player would choose Final Destination to counterpick against Fox, as Pikachu has a 0 to death chain grab on him. But in many situations like this one, the Fox player will ban Final Destination. So the next pick is Fountain of Dreams. What makes this stage a great option is the short width, the very low blast zone, and the shifting platforms. One of Pika's weaknesses is his difficulty approaching neutral. Fox's speed is greater, he can wall him out with aerials, crouch cancel Pikachu's low damaging moves, and double laser on retreat to tag on additional percent. So to limit this tactic, Fountain offers less area to run, the shifting platforms make double lasering inconsistent, and if the plats are down, Pikachu can get a chain grab on Fox. What Axe does in this game is take advantage of the limited space to overwhelm Silent Wolf ASAP, not allowing him the opportunity to control the pace of the game. Instead of setting up long stringing combos, Axe looks for any opportunity to get Fox off stage, as Pikachu's edge guarding game on the space animals is absolutely brutal, especially when one takes into account Pikachu's back throw. This throw has the unique quality of moving the player's position as it's happening, meaning Pikachu can grab Fox at almost any area on the main platform, and, because of the smaller stage width, Axe can get him off stage regardless of how low Fox's percent is. Finally, due to the extremely low blast zone, Pikachu can get incredibly far down to finish the Fox off, which Axe does on every single stock. Now, I wouldn't suggest the win was guaranteed on the stage selection screen or anything. Axe just took the advantage and ran with it about as well as anybody could have.
Oh my god! Destruction! Straight to the left. Oh, he does. Oh, the man!
Oh, that was the big. That was the most. That was. Oh
that
my
was the
god!
Textbook mangle. And the nair and the up smash.
With this clip, I want to focus on recovery mix-ups, and why the Melee edge game is pretty intense. As Armada, the red fox, reverse back airs Leffen, the white fox, Leffen is put in a pretty undesirable position. He's decently far off stage, and Armada is readying himself to edgeguard Leffen. What Armada is trying to do here is threaten a certain ledge option, either to put out a hitbox where Leffen's recovery may line up, or pressure Leffen into recovering a certain way. They both end up using the jump at the same time, but Armada still has his second jump, while Leffen can only recover with either up B or side B. Now here, Armada could have potentially used his double jump into a back air towards Leffen, finishing his stock off, but the situation is ambiguous enough that it's not worth risking his last stock for. Thus, he retreats to the ledge, while at the same time positioning himself to cover the ledge from being grabbed by Leffen. Leffen in this position, seeing Armada covering the ledge, he realizes that he would be taking a bit of a risk to aim directly for ledge or to stage. So Leffen takes the high recovery, which, while leaving him very vulnerable, offers Leffen another opportunity for a mix-up. As assumed, Armada covers the ledge with a back air, covering 2 out of the 3 options Leffen would have for recovery here. Now Leffen is positioned high and has one more opportunity to make it back to stage.
If Leffen drifts towards the stage, he would almost certainly be hit by Armada's back air. But because he assumes Armada will cover that option, Leffen immediately tilts the control stick back to hopefully weave out of the range where the sword of back air would be positioned. Leffen inches away from death, tilts his stick towards the stage on the end of his descent, and grabs the ledge.
That was the
textbook mangle. And the nair into up smash of Armada
Leffen blasting off at a protractor measured angle.
Having it put, the grab.
Now, I haven't seen M2K play so risky in a long time, likely because he's been kinda rusty from playing Smash Ultimate primarily in 2019. But despite the riskiness of this play, it's actually really intelligent. M2K's Marth has a notorious history of killing space animals off a single grab, regardless of percent. Because of this, IBDW knows to avoid the ledge at all costs, and retreats as he knows M2K has to approach him to the percent lead. This doesn't last for long, however, as IBDW attempts to create an opening, and this is really the biggest mistake he makes in the sequence. M2K reacts to his landing with a forward air, manages to get a grab, and back throws IBDW. Right after the back throw, M2K opts for an empty hop, also known as a tomahawk. The purpose of a tomahawk is to condition the opponent to react to an aerial, but because there is no aerial thrown out, M2K has no lag and a multitude of options. Once M2K sees IBDW's crouch, presumably to take the back air M2K was threatening by short hopping, M2K immediately throws out a forward smash. Due to IBDW's confusion, he runs towards the stage and gets hit. Likely out of fear, he expends his double jump away from the stage, leaving him to recover from a very high position. As shown in the previous breakdown I gave with Leffen's recovery against Armada, Fox recovering high in this position is harder to cover than a low or straight angle. M2K realizing IBDW is likely conditioned to recover higher, M2K makes a very hard read and catches IBDW with a forward air, quickly finishing the edge guard with a falling down air to win the set in spectacular fashion.
Also, Armada is really good at doubles, which is
Yeah,
an extremely useful skill set to have against Ices.
Dude, the target switching is just on point. He hasn't taken any damage, and he's been hitting 2 people.
As powerful as wobbling can be, Ice Climbers are characters that can be very cruelly abused, especially by Peach, debatably their worst matchup. Even harsher, Armada is, by a long shot, the best Peach to ever touch a controller. So what we have here is a display of absolute dominance, particularly due to Armada's knowledge in the matchup. In this opening stock, Armada quickly takes to the air with Peach's float. Ice Climbers have a nutty ground game with slippery wave dashes and explosive smash attacks, but they don't handle in the air too well. Also, they can't grab a character sticking to the air. Aside from remaining untouchable, Armada's plan is to look for openings, specifically in the area diagonal to the Ices. Their moves cover above, in front, and behind very well, but there isn't much Ice Climbers can do to cover this particular area. As soon as Armada sees an opening, he lands a fair, which is very strong and is not something Ices can crouch cancel. This leads to a second fair, and from here the plan is to split them up, something Peach is well equipped to do. As soon as a down smash splits them, he immediately targets Nana and boxes Popo out. Armada does make a mistake, but takes back to the air and waits for another opportunity. Because Army, the Ices player, whips a grab attempt, Armada can go for Nana again safely. Notice how Peach lands with a fair. Armada quickly buffers some jabs to make sure he's safe from anything Popo attempts here. But because jab knocks Popo back while Nana is still in the air, Armada makes sure to maintain a position where he can safely hit either one, or in this case both. As soon as both Ice Climbers are off stage, Armada makes sure to throw a turn up at Nana so that Army can't sync them together with side B, and follows this turn up by floating into Nana with a neutral air, finishing her off and leaving Army at a massive disadvantage. He still makes sure not to let the pressure off of Popo and manages to get him off stage as well, setting Armada up to edgeguard Popo, whose recovery isn't all that great. And there goes the stock. While this matchup is hell on earth for Ice Climbers, it takes very specific tactics and knowledge to really take advantage, something Armada displays better than anyone in this matchup.
Really good at doubles, which is an extremely useful skill set to have against Ices.
Dude,
the target switching is just on point. He hasn't taken any damage, and he's been hitting 2 people.
He sends him the wrong
That's it.
way.
Whoa, the up B was so smart. Shine out his shield. Oh! Left the GS horribly.
Oh, and this shoot out.
Oh my God! That comeback. Okay, the crowd is going.
This clip is going to be really small, but I do want to mention here that this set is one of the greatest I've seen in Melee. Both Mango and Leffen were playing incredibly well, and there were so many hype moments through these games, so please give this set a full look if you do have the time. It's Genesis 4, Mango vs Leffen in Losers Quarters. With that out of the way, I want to focus on one decision, a decision that decided the outcome for the set in an instant. It's Game 4, in a best-of-5 set. Leffen is up 2 games to Mango's 1, meaning that Mango cannot lose this game and that this is his last stock. It is not only his last stock in the game, but also for the set and the tournament, as he is in the losers bracket. After an edgeguard attempt on Leffen, Mango makes a miscalculation and puts himself in a very hairy position. In Leffen's counterattack, he actually hits Mango out of his second jump. This is very bad because it reduces Mango's landing options significantly. Additionally, Mango is in hit stun, and when one is in hit stun, one cannot air dodge, leaving only recovery and attacking moves. This is a problem as the momentum Mango is falling with will land him on top of Leffen's incoming up smash, which will kill at this percent. Mango not only needs to land with an attacking move, but one that also stalls his fall speed. Mango could offer a shine stall, which would dodge the up smash, but he has no way to cancel his shine due to the lack of a jump, meaning the missing up smash wouldn't hurt Leffen too much because Mango would be stuck in lag and would still be in the air. This leaves 2 more options, one being side B, which due to the long amount of time in landing lag, is something easily punishable. So because of all this, Mango picks the best option in less than a second, up B. This allows Mango to stall in the air, to land with a hitbox forcing Leffen to shield, and has low landing lag, allowing Mango to get his own shield up in time to counter Leffen's dash attack attempt. And the rest is beautiful Melee history.
Oh! Left the GS horribly.
Oh, and this shoot out.
Oh my God! That comeback. Okay, the crowd is going nuts. That's because everyone.
Less than a minute left.
Oh,
HBox is taking his
HS
time.
has to make something happen too, because he'll lose by percent.
Right.
Yeah.
Finally, we have a perfect example of what keeping a level head looks like. The amount of emotional and mental pressure in a competitive game can take its toll, and if one lets the pressure get to them, it may result in a misstep that can cost the match. The mental game is incredibly important and really difficult to master, so to speak. In this set, Hungrybox the Puff player and Zane the Marth are in a last stock, last game, and last minute situation. When a game goes to timeout, the winner is whoever has the lowest percent and most stocks by the end. So by this point, Zane is trying to play safely and wants to avoid getting hit. Zane can essentially run away and bat HBox away as he has the percent lead and can just run out the clock. So HBox has to make a move here and it has to be a kill. The percentage difference is too great to really catch up to, and Marth can box Puff out with his disjointed hitboxes, pretty consistently making the percentage difference greater. Needless to say, HBox is under a lot of pressure in this situation. If he doesn't act aggressively enough, he'll lose to time. If he panics and rushes in, it can result in needless damage and a possible death. So he has to find a way to finesse himself into Zane's personal space while also avoiding Marth's fat sword. And once he does manage to do that, he has to not let nerves get to him so that he can execute a punish cleanly. Remember, HBox needs a kill here, not just damage. Dropping any potential follow-up is very bad in this scenario. HBox manages to threaten space, pushing Zane towards the corner of the stage. He makes sure to continue throwing out back airs to deter Zane from claiming center stage again. Zane does realize what's happening and attempts to wave dash past HBox to not get pushed too far towards the edge, but because HBox kept where he was landing somewhat ambiguous, they end up landing right on top of each other, with Zane and shield. HBox throws out a jab as its relatively safe option, placing Zane in front of HBox in shield, giving him an opportunity to land a grab on Zane. He back throws Zane in order to reduce his options in terms of stage control. Puff lands a back air, placing Marth off stage, and HBox executes the following punish without error, a clean victory from the jaws of near defeat. Now if you look at the player cam at this point, it can be hard to get a read on how these players are feeling and what they're going through mentally. But after the match concludes, we get to see the pent-up stress pour out, really showing how insanely good HBox's in-game mental fortitude is after realizing the level of emotional energy being suppressed.
Oh, the no!
Yeah! Oh my God!
What? Fucking fuck!
What? Good shit by H-Box. That was...
Oh my god.
So, of course, Melee is fun as a competitive game, but that doesn't mean that party games or even Melee as a party game is invalid by any means. Like I said, the entire appeal of Smash is that you can play it however the hell you want to. You can play on any map the game has open to you, and with Melee there's just something beautiful about unlocking more and more things and having more materials to use as you keep playing. The single-player modes are amazing, such as these challenges you're given, which is sort of just what World of Light is now, but it's still fun. There's a lot of really cool ideas you can have when playing it in casual play. Have a Game & Watch Ditto and decide who goes first by who gets the bigger number. Hit each other until one of you gets a 9, and you win. Having a Mewtwo Ditto, where you play tennis. Set it to where only Pokeballs appear and have a huge Pokemon battle. Ideas like these are precisely why people even buy Smash. It's like, yeah, the competitive side of it is certainly magical in its own way, but when it's just you and your friends, there's no need to be so serious. It's fun sometimes to take a break from all that and just fuck around. The relief you get when finding a heart or a Maxim tomato, the mystery of what could possibly be inside a box or a party ball, wondering what Pokemon you'll get when you use a Pokeball, the surprise when a barrel or a capsule explodes in your face, that oh no moment when someone grabs a hammer. Is there anything more satisfying or stupid than hitting someone with the home run bat? It has such a slow startup but such an amazing impact that it's just so rewarding when you land it. These are things unique to the items mode that the competitive scene cannot replicate. The fun, inventive maps that have all sorts of unique, charming, and crazy things to offer. The concept of fighting on top of a race car in the middle of a fast-paced race is literally a genius idea. This is a game where you can make an anthropomorphic fox with a laser, a pink eldritch abomination, a fat plumber who can shoot fireballs, and a prince with a sword all have a fight on the back of a giant spaceship by throwing Pokeballs at each other. Hell, you don't even have to play it by the usual percentage mode. Things like stamina or coin collection base your victory on something entirely different. And honestly, unlocking things in this game is the most fun part about it, in my opinion. Like, I love trying to do everything and 100% and get everything possible in the game. It's so fun! I don't really get how someone can look at Melee and think that it takes no skill, and even more so isn't valid competitively. Why did over 3,000 events feature Melee, one of which is the staple for competitive play around 2014? Because despite its party elements, to imply that there is no strategy behind it and no competitive play whatsoever is ridiculous, even if you believe more goes into actual fighting games. Melee will forever be one of my favorite games of all time, and that's why I still consider it a competitive beauty to this day.